Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And welcome back.
I wish this was televised so they can see my reaction to you two.
Every single time, Rob cringes over there in the corner. He's like, gosh, what are Chris and Joe
We're running a
gonna do?
professional show here now.
Oh, yeah. Just keep telling yourself that, Rob.
So, Joe, don't try this at home, kids. We are professionals. So you came up and called me up and said, I've got this great person to come on this show today.
Yes.
And it's a life coach.
And she's family.
And I said, how are we going to tie that into real estate? And so you said,
Easy,
because we were talking about relationships before you start remodeling and things like that. So introduce our next guest, if you
Holy
would.
cow. Well, first of all, we have the life coach Steph here from a Sunday show. Plug your show for us real quick.
Excellent. I have a show here on KKHT, Love and Life Radio with Coach Steph at 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
So I get a call from the station. They say, hey, we want to do some cross-promoting. And we would love to mix these two shows and have y'all come on each other's shows and stuff. And she's a life coach. And I started laughing. And I'm like, that's perfect.
I'm glad you felt that way.
Well, it's perfect because of the real estate, right?
Yes.
I mean, we talk about no matter what you do, whether you be buying a home, selling a home, or fixing the home you have,
Coach Steph and I were talking this morning because we were talking about, I actually asked that question of if they're going to do remodeling or build a new house together, what's your relationship like? So now I'm not going to have that conversation. I'm going to say, call Coach Steph.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because it's true. We were talking about that you'll get in arguments about the tile, but, we know it's not the tile they're arguing about.
It's never about
So
the tile.
talk about relationships when people are going through stressful times, getting a new roof or having their foundation work done type of things. What type,
I think that most people need to be mindful of the status of their relationship at all times. I think sometimes people get into these really big projects as a fixer-upper. Not only do they want a new house, but maybe they want a new baby, maybe they want a new car. They're putting.
And they'll be happy when they get those items.
Exactly,
Right.
And then the relationship is going to sprout and become awesome. And it never was
when
awesome.
we get to that new house, we'll be happy.
We will be.
Yes,
We will. We're going to have a mortgage that is 3 times what we pay now, but we will be ecstatic about it. Yes. No, you won't.
Yeah.
Well, one of the principles that has always amazed me in life is that perfectly rational adults will understand the concept of coaches and mentors in all sorts of areas of their lives, yet they'll enter into one of the most foundational, for me, most important relationship they'll ever have walking the planet, and then act insulted if you recommend or encourage them to have some coaching in the area of their relationship.
Right.
It's just amazing to me how it's like, oh, that's offensive. I automatically know how to be a great husband because I'm married.
Right.
We got married, so I'm an expert now.
Exactly. If only that were
would
true.
really complete your life and make everything perfect and happy for you is if you'd get Kim that new house.
Exactly.
I worked it in. Didn't
You
I?
worked it in.
I liked it.
Yes.
I like how he wove that. That was really nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's a recurring theme each week. We reach out
You
to
can't make
Kim.
it a show without insisting that I get a new house, so because the wife wants one.
I got it. Happy
Yes.
wife, happy life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if mama's not happy,
Ain't
Nobody's
nobody
happy.
Be clear.
But one of the things we always talk about, though, is, we see it all the time. We see it, in the finance section when they come in, they're determining what type of financing they're going to do for a home. We see it when they're building a home. We see it from a real estate perspective, Rob, when agents are out there showing somebody a new home. We see it whenever they're getting major repairs. We see it whenever they want to do a man cave versus a sewing room. Relationships are the key. Your relationship, not only in a relationship with your respective other, but also how you handle relationships with others during that process are extremely important. Because a lot of times what I've always said is the reaction sometimes you get from somebody, and one of the worst things I tell everybody is never read somebody's reaction on how it is on the phone or via email or via text, because it's the most informal and unassuming way to be able to diagnose what that person's truly going through. What are some of your thoughts around that?
Well, you bring up one of my hot buttons, and that is informal communication. Because if we haven't talked and we don't know each other, you don't get the nuances of the quirky little things that I might say to you in an email, even if I put a smiley face on it. So we have to be really mindful of how we communicate and make sure that if it's a major topic, we don't do that over email or over text, because some people have a tendency to get digital courage, and they're just all like, yeah, over text. And then you're like, okay,
I'm
so
feeling that too, digital courage.
Yeah, digital
that.
courage. Absolutely. So, we want to be authentic and really, as I say all the time, real relationships require real communication. Nothing wrong with a text, nothing wrong with an email. But at some point, we have to sit down and talk. And we have to do it in person.
And you get back to what I've always said is one of the things I tell everybody in real estate, the new market that we've got right now is a lot of people are going to that digital courage. Everything is digital, text, email, et cetera, and yet there is nothing that is going to replace any relationship that can be done face-to-face. When you meet somebody face-to-face, you get to know who they are, you put a face to the voice, and you also get to look and see somebody in the eyes and say, is this person an individual I trust during this process? And that is really, really important, whether you be selecting a roofing company, whether you be selecting a builder, whether you be selecting a real estate agent or a lender. I think it's important not to take everything on, guess what, he sounded really good via the email. Sit down and meet with the people.
Absolutely. Force them to have a communication with you that is not on the fly, on a text, adding you in a Facebook. Because you know what? Social media has allowed us to be more connected, but yet more distant. And so we, like Chris said, we just have to sit down and have a conversation and see, is this person legitimately who they've said that they are with this great website, with this great Facebook page, all of that hoo-ha.
And support this or don't support this, but I see people are making decisions on sound bites. We hear, because you're getting about 10 seconds of people's attention online. Mm-hmm. And so that's why in political arenas and things like that, people are going, oh, this is what it is. And they may draw conclusions because they're filtering it through their knowledge and their past. And that sound bites don't work because you're not getting enough information. Have you seen that when you're talking with people you're counseling and things like that they're making decisions without enough information?
Yes, I see people that are thinking, okay, well, you know what, if this person has not only the sound bites, but if this person has 30,000 likes on Facebook, oh my God, they must know what they're talking about. No, they must have a really good social media strategy and it's working. And that's how they amassed all of these people. That doesn't mean that they do what they say they're going to do. That doesn't mean that they're trustworthy. It doesn't even mean that they know what they're talking about. It just means that in social media, they took great pictures, they put up some great sound bites, as you said, or some good timeline photos, and people are like, oh my God, they're brilliant. I must have them in my life.
Yes. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
So how do you?
And I like that. I like that
host?
separation. Yeah.
I mean, a host. How do you gauge a good coach?
Okay.
I mean, that's. I would imagine a pretty.
Yeah, that's it's like
I didn't lose my train of thought, but that's
right.
a pretty important thing. That's,
I got it though
because
we're here. We're here.
Yes.
Okay, you know what? Coaching is one of those things that it's a word that's kind of a catch-all. I've noticed, kind of like marketing. And, people will say, hey, I'm a coach, and they haven't been through any kind of training. So
yes.
the best coaches don't talk a lot. If you have somebody in your life that says there's a coach and they're constantly talking, we use what's known as an 80-20 rule. I should talk 20% of the time. The client should talk 80% of the time. If I'm having a conversation with you and I'm telling you what to do, that is not coaching. That's a dialogue, exactly. And then the other thing is coaching is designed to help you pull out the solution you already have within you. So really, I'm more of a midwife. I just tell you when to push. You give birth, it works for me. Hey.
And on that philosophy, my granddad used to always tell me, he said, you're born with 2 ears and 1 mouth. What does that mean?
That's true.
Yeah.
You got to listen twice as much as what you talk.
Exactly.
My teachers used to tell me that.
And that's hard when I'm working
They're still telling me that.
With young agents. That's probably the number one thing because people, they want to be telling. I want to tell you. I want to tell you about me. I want to tell you. No, it's all about them. And you got to get really focused. It's not about us. It is about our clients and consumers and things like that, and listen. Period.
Listening is good.
Yeah, listening is really
in
good.
all relationships.
I learn a lot more by listening than I do by talking.
Absolutely.
In fact, you know what? I don't learn anything while I'm talking.
No.
That is true.
So I'll shut up now.
Wow, we finally found a way to make Rob quiet.
Now. This is
He's like, wait a minute. That's not what I meant.
The kettle, So,
I'm messing with you, Rob. You know that.
I know you are. You'll pay for it later.
What are some of the big things from a relationship perspective, though? What are some of the biggest things, if I was ask, what are the top 5 items that are that you generally see, or generally from a relationships perspective, or maybe the top 5 items that people are going through, or they might see that you might see are causing a relationship issue?
That's a great question. You know, at the firm, we deal with all types of relationships, but usually they are romantic in nature. One of the key things that I see, especially now, people don't want to ask hard questions. They want to assume that, you know what, we've been out for 6 months. Oh, we're exclusive. Well, nobody said that. So when you're in the 7th month and somebody calls you and says, hey, don't I see your boyfriend over here at Vic and Anthony's? You're like, oh, wait, I thought we were together. And then the person is like, well, no, we never established that, because no one wants to ask the question, hey, do you want to be in an exclusive relationship with me? Nobody wants to do that. They just want to ask. They want to assume that, you know, if we text every night, or if oh my God, we're Facebook official. You know,
I just send a note with a yes/no checkbox.
Yeah, I love that. You know what? Personally, let's get back to that. I've been saying that for months. That's what we need to get back to.
That gives me such warm fuzzies.
I love it. I think that's
not
perfect.
a bad one, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, if you ask me for 5 things. You asked me for 5 things. The reality is the biggest thing, and the other 4 things are probably communication.
Right.
You know, just not talking it out. Getting married without figuring out if we're on the same page. You know, do we want kids? Where do we want to live? What religion? Some people don't even know what religion their significant other is. Some people don't even know what job they do. And I'm like, this is insanity. People just don't talk. So the top 5 things I see is 5 issues that begin with people not talking and having authentic, honest communication.
You know, and I would agree right there. I mean, I came from a relationship with my wife right now in which we had a very long courtship. You know, we dated for almost 8 years.
Yes, she still married you.
Yeah, and she still married me. Can you believe it?
Wow.
But, you know, but I caught her young enough. I caught her young enough. I had to educate her.
Both
you know what it's like to like
beautiful
me.
Women. I don't know how you did it.
But you know, but you know, there's nothing wrong with a shorter courtship as well, because I think maturity obviously can do that. But you know, I definitely say is that, you know, I grew up in the longer courtship type of things, and as you mentioned, you know, one of the things that we do, we've built multiple homes, sold homes together, bought homes together, you know, improved things. And I'll tell you, communication is key. I mean, whether it be good or bad, I feel this or I feel that. Let your significant other know what you feel and what you want, because if not, that process will not be that.
And I've talked about this before when working
fun.
with the real estate clients, is bringing expectations and realities together. And
Yes.
it's the same kind of thing, because you've got to, you know, people have certain expectations going to relationships or doing business, and it may not be a realistic expectation.
Exactly.
You know, or you may not be willing to do that.
That's true.
You know, it kind of a bit of a crossover, but I know we have to break coming up here really fast. That communication is so important, and I know that's such a cliche, but you go into a partnership, whether it's business or otherwise in marriage, and everybody kind of has this concept of we're both in this together, we're both pulling 100%, and we're pushing towards the same direction. And it's just kind of an assumed thing, and that is so often not the case. Or, hey, my 100% really may turn out to be like 20% of your 100%, you know, so or 0 as you were showing the sign over there. I want to talk about that some more when we come back. I know we got a break. 800-808-5548. Hey, we've got a life coach here, marriage coach. We've got a roofer. We've got a foundation person. We got it all covered today. Just give us a shout. We'll be right back.